You are listening to the Optic Blast broadcast, a hipster goblin media production.
Previously on Optic Blast broadcast, the broadcast dudes kicked off your favorite comic book broadcast with an X-Men centric episode. We covered X-Men 97, X-Men comics, our favorite characters, the mega big head Sentinel pop, and more. So if you haven't checked it out, roll back to the last episode now. Now, welcome to episode 2. Today is all about Spider-Man. We are going to cover the new Marvel Unlimited Spider-Man run, The Amazing Spider-Man Gang War. And we're going to discuss all things Spidey, from video games to cartoons, and we're going to get into the big debate, our favorite live-action webhead. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Blake, and I'm going to kick it over to my co-host with the most, Mr. Dylan, for Comic News.
Yeah, what's going on, Blake? I'm excited to be here for our second episode of the Optic Blast broadcast, man. I'm so excited. So I'm gonna kick it off with some news for you guys. So every time you join an episode of the Optic Blast broadcast, every time you tune in, you can expect some of the latest and greatest news beyond the comic verse. This can span between video games, movies, TV shows, comics, and everything in between. So our first piece of news today is Spidey Mondays. If you haven't heard of Spidey Mondays, in celebration of Sony's, I guess, what'd you say, Blake, the Columbia's 100th anniversary or something like that?
Yeah, Columbia Pictures 100th anniversary. They're taking like all their big Sony titles and they're putting them back in movies for like limited runs.
Yeah, so Spidey Mondays are going to be every single live action Spider-Man going to be showing in theaters. So if you haven't had a chance, like myself, to actually see a lot of these movies in theaters, especially, you know, the better ones, but we'll get into that later. You can tune in, find a theater near you. Hopefully you'll be able to find one. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a theater near us that is doing this, so it kind of saddens me.
Yeah,
but every single Monday through the month of June, well, the first week of June 3rd, they're going to be showing every single live action in order. So it'll be like Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, The Amazing Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, then Homecoming? Is that
Homecoming?
Yeah, Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. So all in order, all the way to June 3rd. So be sure to tune into that. If you can, find a theater near you. I definitely recommend seeing those because I would if I could. Unfortunately, I don't think I will be able to. It saddens me. But
dude, I got you, Dylan. I got you. Escape Theaters, Blankham Baker 16, Monday at 7 o'clock, Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man, are you serious?
Spider-Man
okay,
2.
sweet.
Yeah,
okay, so I didn't realize Blankham Baker. I thought I looked at, I don't know. I Googled everywhere and I wasn't able to find the first one, and I just got
that's the closest one though. Everything else is like nowhere near us.
I think I went over there when they did the Return of the Jedi anniversary. I think I went over there to see that whenever they brought that back in the theaters, and it was really awesome. But
hold on, they're gonna put The Amazing Spider-Man 2 back in theaters?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, that's where you go take a nap in there, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, I'm going to try to watch as many as I can. I might skip Homecoming or Far From Home, but anyway.
Come on, bro.
So, anyway, speaking of Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home, Spider-Man 4, Tom Holland's fourth movie, is actually going to be starting filming this September. This is information that's brought to that was through Production Weekly was the source that I got this from, and they're pretty reliable. They pretty much it's actually like a subscription base thing that you can do, but obviously I don't subscribe. I just get my information.
Right.
But they report on like give updates on production of movies and big shows and things like that. So they're saying that they believe that filming will start for that movie this September, and it will potentially release July 10th of 2025, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe I think that 2025, which is actually my birthday. So I'm pretty hyped. Speaking of that, though, there have also been rumors of Sony and Marvel like kind of talking about like what to do, like what direction to go. Obviously, if you watch No Way Home, like you know that Tom is kind of on his own, or Peter, I guess, if you want to call him Peter, because I guess that's the character he plays. But he's on his own. And no one really knows. I don't hope I'm not spoiling this. I mean, the movie's been out for a while, but he's on his own.
It's their fault at this point if they don't know what happens in that movie.
So yeah, no one remembers Peter Parker basically now. So he's just kind of on his own, and left it to where we can potentially go into more like a grounded, more friendly neighborhood Spider-Man kind of feel. But apparently Sony is, doing Sony things, and they're like, hey, we kind of want to keep the multiverse stuff in it. And so there's multiple different ways they can go with that. So I was kind of interested to hear your thoughts on that, Blake. Like, how would you feel? Like, what direction do you think they should go?
So ending of No Way Home, you have Peter Parker, who finally in the MCU, in my opinion, other than Homecoming, we haven't gotten a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man story yet in the MCU. Spider-Man is a street level hero, but in the MCU, he has remained a cosmic threat level hero. So, I mean, you think about it, he comes in Civil War, all the heroes battling. This is kind of over his head. He's just a kid. And then you go straight to Infinity War. Then you go to Endgame, and you're like, even the other Spider-Man movie where Mysterio shows up. I mean, this is all huge level threats, and we haven't really seen friendly neighborhood Spider-Man just protecting New York City. That's my Spider-Man. I want that Spider-Man. So I would rather them stick to they set it up perfect. Everyone forgot who Peter Parker was. He's on his own. He's got the traditional suit on. And that last like couple minutes when he's like web slinging through New York City, you're set up perfect. Don't screw it up, Sony. That's my thoughts.
That's exactly how I feel too. Like, I completely agree. And I really hope that they lean into that, and we can potentially get some like crossovers with like Daredevil, Charlie Cox's Daredevil, because obviously he was in No Way Home, if you remember that. And I'm a huge fan of Charlie Cox's Daredevil. I think that I love that show. I think it's great. So, and I would love to see, obviously Wilson Fisk come in would be sick. I can't remember the actor's name, but I think he does a great job. So I really think they should keep it grounded myself. So, hey, Sony, if you're listening.
Hey, Optic Blast Broadcast. We're telling you, dude, we're in touch with the pulse of what Spider-Man fans want. So
exactly.
Don't screw it.
Exactly. So all right. And our next piece of news is actually a sale that's going on DC. So I know we talk a lot on the show so far. We've been all about the Marvel stuff, but we are also DC fans, especially me. I love DC. And this past, I want to say April 18th, if I'm not mistaken, is actually the anniversary of Superman. So Superman officially was introduced into the comic world in Action Comics 1 back in 30 something. I can't remember the exact. It's been like 85, 86 years or something like that. So DC is running a sale right now on their store that you can get a lot of like different like Superman merch. It's like Smallville. They have like a Smallville collection, a classic comics collection, and it just has like a bunch of really like throwback Superman style, like almost kind of like vintage looking, at least in my opinion, because I'm young probably. There's some old heads there probably disagree with that, but kind of vintage looking merch that you can get on their website that's on sale right now. So be sure to go check that out if you haven't already. And our last piece of news is sticking with DC is the Joker 2 teaser trailer also dropped, and I watched it. I'm super excited for that movie. I watched the first one. I thought it was phenomenal. It is a little dark, so be wary of that, but it was a great film, and I'm super excited for the second one. So be sure to check out the teaser trailer if you have not already. Blake, did you watch it?
All right, so I got a question. I saw the original Joker movie. I have a question. Is it true? Because I don't know. I haven't followed this well, but is Joker 2 really going to be a musical?
Yeah, so they have Lady Gaga being Harley Quinn.
Okay.
And so obviously, I mean, she's a big singer, so I feel like it kind of makes sense for it to be like a musical kind of thing. And I'm assuming it's going to be like, I don't really know how to describe, like, I'm it's gonna be because if you remember the first one, like a lot of it was like in Arthur's mind.
Yeah.
And so like I'm assuming the musical aspect of it, they can really lean into that and really use that as like him imagining things. So I think that's kind of an interesting idea, an interesting direction to go, because that just kind of feeds into the disassociation from reality that he has in a sense.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see it, man.
Yeah, I can feel that. I don't know. I hate musicals. I absolutely, I absolutely despise them. But if it's like in his head and he's imagining, or maybe Harley's imagining this like big musical number between both of them, I could totally see it working for that style of movie. Like if you look back on the first one, like there's the whole dance number where he's on the stairs that's like been made a meme, and yeah, I could see that happening. I could see that making sense. I love Lady Gaga, so cool. Yeah.
Yep, I'm excited for it. And yeah. So if you tuned in to episode 1, you know what time it is. It's toy time. Blake, take it away.
All right. Let's go over here. I got us something going on. So here at Optic Blast Broadcast, we love everything about comics and the worlds they build, especially the toys. So today we're going to move over, like Dylan was saying, we've been in the Marvel universe, but we are also big DC fans. And we're going to move to the DC universe. We're going to descend down into Gotham City for a minute, and we're going to explore this big, gigantic freaking toy. All right, this thing is called the Batman Gotham Guardian. All right, so I'm trying to catch it in the camera. So remember, you can always, if you're listening to the podcast, awesome. Thank you so much for listening. But this is the Optic Blast Broadcast. We also are visual. So you can check it out on YouTube. You can actually watch the video so you can see this toy a little better. I've been posting pictures from our social medias of this toy and some of the different forms that it comes in. But anyway, so he's a giant robot. He talks. Let's see. How do I make it? Uh-oh. Yeah, Batmech Online, dude. So this giant thing, it's huge. It is actually 4 different vehicles that have like the Power Rangers effect, like the Megazord. You've got like the Batwing, you've got a Bat Tank, you've got a Bat Motorcycle, and then like a little escape pod thing. All 4 of them fused together and make our gigantic Gotham Guardian.
Gotham City Guardian Online.
Yeah, dude, he's ready. So it's a really cool toy. My son actually got this for Easter. And so whenever he got it and he opened it, he got it from my dad and my stepmom. And I was like, well, there you go. There's a toy right there. We're going to have to open this thing up and put it on the Optic Blast Broadcast. This thing is a playset, so it's huge. It actually runs about $100 when it's not on sale. But right now it's half off on Amazon. So if you have a Batman kid in your house, or there's a big Batman kid like me in your house, this is an awesome toy. We had a lot of fun putting it together. Like I said, it definitely brings back the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers feel, where you have multiple vehicles coming together. I have really no idea why Batman would need a Godzilla-sized mech. But, Batman's prepared for everything. So if Godzilla is coming to Gotham City, he's going to step to him, right? So I guess he's ready for that. It does come with one Batman mini action figure. Let's see if I can pop him out here. It's not the easiest thing to transform. That was kind of the only thing I thought about on this was, doing it on the Optic Blast Broadcast. It might be hard to transform him. Let's see if I could pop him out. Once you get him going and put him together. Let's get him this way. There we go. So the Batwing part actually comes off. And so that's where his head is. And so you have the Batwing itself. These things fold back into the Batwing. So there's one vehicle right there. It's huge. It's awesome. And then there's a little Bat Tank. But inside the Bat Tank, an ejector thing pops out. And you have Batman on a motorcycle. And that might be my favorite vehicle just because it's small. I like little toys, kind of like Micro Machines were my thing when I was little. But this thing will shoot out and ride out of the tank. I put a little story up on Optic Blast Broadcast showing him shoot out of the tank if you're interested in that. But yeah, and the little figure is great. It has lots of articulation. He can move all different ways. He has a cloth cape. All right, you guys who grew up with action figures, if you had a Superman or a Batman or anybody and it had a plastic cape, That's trash. You didn't want a plastic cape. You want a cloth cape. So he definitely has a cloth cape. He gets 10 points just for the cloth cape. Perfect. Anyway, so it's an awesome toy. I definitely recommend it if you have a lot of space in your house. Like I said, this thing is huge. It talks. It has 4 different forms that it can go into. So that is your Batman Gotham Guardian. Again, it's half off on Amazon. I don't know about your other retailers, but hey, if you're interested in it, I guarantee he will definitely make an impact in your action figure collection. And like I said, Batman's ready for Godzilla now. So that's really it for Toy Time. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to get into the nuts and bolts of this broadcast, our favorite webhead, Spider-Man himself. Let's go. All right, we're back, and it's time. We are going to get into Spider-Man, our favorite webhead. Spider-Man is probably, I can't think of another hero that I associate more with Marvel than Spider-Man. Like if I hear Marvel or I see a Marvel logo, I immediately think of Spider-Man. That's just like right where my brain goes. So we're going to get into the Spider-Man Gang War crossover. Me and Dylan read this crossover. We talk a lot about the Marvel Unlimited app. It's got all these comics. The crossover happened. We wanted to read something that was more modern. Like I said, I have tons of old comics, and I know a lot about old comics. But now we're doing a broadcast. I want to learn more about what's happening now in comics. So I've had a lot of homework and a lot of catching up to do to see what in the world is going on in Peter Parker's life. And this crossover happened last year in 2023. It went across all Spider titles, and it was called Spider-Man Gang War. We're going to get into it. We're going to go through it. But before we get there, we have a debate to settle. We have something to figure out. And this is, who is the greatest live action Spider-Man and why? We actually took to you
Toby?
guys.
I
don't know. We haven't got there yet. But so who's the greatest Spider-Man live action Spider-Man and why? And we went to you guys. We took it to our Optic Blast broadcast social media, and we have over 70 votes on that. And we just posted it yesterday. So I think there's only like 100 of you right now who are even like follow us. So the fact that 70 people jumped in on this, man, guys, thank you so much for like participating in this in one day. It just kind of blew our minds that, that's a huge retention rate of 100 something people followers, and 70 of them jumped in on this vote. So you're passionate about Spider-Man. We're passionate about Spider-Man. I definitely know Dylan is passionate about one certain Spider-Man, and we're going to talk about who is the greatest live action Spider-Man. But like I said, a quick thanks to all you who voted. And Dylan, I mean, let's say we got 3 live action Spider-Man that we're talking about here. Of course, you have the OG. You're talking about Toby, and then you have Andrew, and then now the current Spider-Man is Tom Holland. So I guess we just get into it, man. We just get rocking. So I'm going to let you come right out of the gate, bro, because I have a feeling you were very passionate about this, and you're bringing something to the table.
Yeah. So if you haven't already figured out, I'm a huge Toby stan. Like every time I think about Spider-Man, I just think of Toby. I resonate with Toby. I feel like Toby is like my spirit animal. So I'm a huge Toby fan. Even ever since I was a kid, like I was just all about Toby. I remember even like, of course, watch after all 3 of his movies came out, like even going into whenever Andrew's movie came out, like I remember being in the theater and seeing the poster for it, and I was like, oh, it's Toby. Like, because it was like a shadow on a wall. Like it was like a wall, and he was like up on it in a corner, and you couldn't see his face. But I was a kid, so I didn't know what was going on. I was like, oh, that's Toby. That's Spider-Man 4.
Spider-Man 4, yeah.
I remember seeing the movie, and I was a little disappointed. But anyway, I've always been a huge Toby fan. I literally can sit here and quote the first and probably even the second and some of the third movie to you, like almost all the way through. Even Spider-Man 3, like I'm a huge Spider-Man. Like a lot of people hate on Spider-Man 3. I really enjoyed it as a child. I know people have their issues with it, and Sony doing Sony things over there.
Sure.
kind of overbloated that movie with a few things. And so I still thought it was really good. I love seeing the black symbiote suit on Toby, because honestly, even Toby without the symbiote suit is still just the same person, I feel like sometimes. And I think it's hilarious. But like, yeah, I'm a really big fan of Toby. I think he does Spider-Man really well. I think he is a really, like, a lot of people say, they're like, oh, Toby's the best Peter and Andrew's the best Spider-Man and Tom's the best mix of both. And I'm like, no.
He said no.
No. Toby is the, like, dude, he's that weird, he's awkward, he's Peter. He's like that nerdy kid that gets bullied in high school, but then whenever he turns into Spider-Man, he's like as cocky as can be. Right. Like he has all the confidence in the world. And even whenever he has a symbiote suit, like in the Spider-Man 3, and everybody talks about that whole that whole compilation of him like walking around, dancing, doing his little moves with
this like emo hair down in his face.
With the emo, and like I'm like, dude, that's just what Toby thinks. That's what Peter thinks is cool. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like that's just amplifying his feelings and emotions. Like it's not like that's just. It's supposed to be weird. It's supposed to be awkward because
he's a nerd. He's a nerd.
Peter. Yeah, he's Peter. And I think that's what people like don't get. And that's what I don't get with Tom. When it comes with Tom, it's like when he turns into Spider-Man, like, yeah, he's a kid. Like I get Spider-Man's supposed to be a kid. I get that. But he's still like is that quirky, like weird. And like I understand that is what Spider-Man is supposed to be. I'm not, but I just feel like there's no difference between when he puts on the mask and when he takes it off. Yeah. He's still the same person. And I feel like Toby has like that perfect, he's Spider-Man and then he's Toby or Peter. He's Peter and then he's Spider-Man. Like they're two completely different people. Andrew is very similar in a way. I feel like he has almost a little too much confidence. They try to do more of like a modern day cool, like more of a geek style than like nerd, I guess, if I had to say.
Yeah.
And which isn't bad. I thought Andrew did a great job. I really like Andrew. And I know I hate on Tom a lot, but it's just I don't put much respect on Tom because he can't do much without Tony Stark.
Yeah.
So
well, that is true. I'll second that. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier. Tom Spider-Man. We have not really got to see him be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man yet. In Homecoming, in the very beginning, there's like a little bit of that vibe because he's like texting the Avengers. And he's like, "Hey guys, what are we doing?" And like they don't ever talk back to him, like or whatever. And so there's a little bit of that vibe. But you're right. In the MCU, he's just a kid, and we haven't really seen friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and that's what I'm really hoping they do in Spider-Man 4. Let's take it before I get into my opinion. Let's take it to the Optic Blast broadcast channel, and I'm going to kind of go over. I'm going to do our rundown for what we have right now. We're currently at 73 votes, right? And right now, in third place is Andrew. So Andrew, he only got 12% of the votes. So he's in third place. In second place is our guy Toby. He got 31% of the votes. And then in first place is Tom, and he got 56% of the votes. So Tom is holding it down right now as our current Spider-Man, according to our Optic Blast broadcast listeners. I don't know what to call people who like Optic Blast broadcast. We'll come up with something. Like the Hulk Hogan had the Hulkamaniacs. Like, I don't know what we're going to call Optic Blast broadcast people. But anyway, right now, thank you guys for voting on that. So they're sticking with Tom, dude. My personal opinion, I really love Toby. It's hard not to. He's the original. When I saw Spider-Man hit the live action screen, that's probably the best Marvel adaptation of well, actually they did Blade when I was really young. And Blade was like a Marvel superhero movie, but I didn't know who Blade was. I was just a kid. I didn't really understand that was a comic book character. So he's probably like the first, I would guess. I know Batman in the 80s, but I'm talking about Marvel that like actually had a movie that did some sort of damage in the box office and had like a following. But so that movie, I loved the Blade movies. But Spider-Man, man, seeing him and Toby, Spider-Man 2 is my favorite Spider-Man movie. It wraps up the whole story of Spider-Man. You have a Doc Ock, brilliant Doc Ock, man. Like they nailed that. Like that, the comic book pages came to life in that movie. I agree with you. Toby is probably the best, like Peter Parker for sure. Like he's a nerd. He's an outcast. He the girl of his dreams lives right next door, and he can't even talk to her. Like he stumbles over his words. Like he's a total nerd. But then when he gets bit by the spider, things start changing, right? And the whole great power comes great responsibility is the core backbone of the Toby movies. It's the core backbone of Spider-Man, and it bums me out in the MCU. That is not the core backbone of that Spider-Man. I mean, we just got that line. How many movies has he been in? And it wasn't even, it was Aunt May who gives that line in the MCU, right? So I think I'm remembering that correctly.
Yeah, you're right.
And yeah, I get it. But so Toby to me is probably like, definitely Peter Parker. He's got that nailed. I'm not going to hate on Andrew, dude. Andrew did an awesome job. He was not my beef when I first saw the Amazing Spider-Man #1 with Andrew in it. The Lizard was great. The movie was great. I felt like I was reading the Ultimate Spider-Man comic as I was watching it. Andrew is an awesome Spider-Man. He is like cocky. He's funny. He's the only Spider-Man like that. Not Toby, but Tom Holland makes me laugh too. But like Spider-Man is hilarious. Like if you sit down and read Spider-Man comics, you usually will laugh the whole time. He's not quite Deadpool level, but he's pretty close. He's just that Andrew captured that. And Andrew captured the best spider type. Like remember when he shoots that web out in the first one and he's in the sewers and he's trying to feel the vibrations of the web? Dude, perfect. You don't ever see Spider-Man do cool stuff like that, like in the movies. Like that's a spider when he's fighting the lizard and he's like wrapping himself around him and webbing him up. Like that is so cool. Like so I'm not hating on Andrew. He's got some of the coolest scenes like as a Spider-Man, and I love him as a Spider-Man, but as a Peter Parker, he's too cool. Like he's super good looking. He's awesome at skateboarding. The girls at school like him. Like that's not Peter Parker, dude. Peter Parker is like a short little nerdy dude that you push over to, steal his lunch money. Like that's not him.
I felt like with Andrew, like Harry seemed more of a Peter than Andrew.
Yeah, 100%, yes. And then I think what kills Andrew is, unfortunately, it wasn't Andrew. It was the storyline and the plot for The Amazing Spider-Man 2. They butchered that movie so bad, and it had nothing to do with Andrew. He brought it to the table. He did the best he could. And honestly, Gwen Stacy, that actress, was that Emma Stone? Who did that? Emma Stone. Emma Stone killed it. Like their chemistry together. I think they were actually dating in real life around that time. So maybe that's why there was some good, but their chemistry on screen was great. But that just goes to show you can have two of the most awesome actors nailing their roles and they can't save a bad script. And that's what happened with Amazing Spider-Man 2. And that kind of that was the end. And then MCU comes to Sony. They're like, hey, you killed Spider-Man, basically. We can help bring it back to life if you jump into the MCU. And that's where we land with our dude, Tom. I would say Tom is a great overall package. I will agree with you. He's not quite as nerdy. I mean, he's kind of nerdy, but like not really. He just kind of seems overburdened with responsibility, which is a good Spider-Man plug. But without having Uncle Ben, like a foundation of Uncle Ben, without having that and without having a foundation of great power comes great responsibility at the beginning of your Spider-Man story, catching up with that later to me kind of weakens him as Spider-Man. I'm excited to see where they're going with him. But overall, like my favorite, I do love Tom's youthful. I love how youthful he is. I love how he's very funny. Like, dude, Civil War, you watch that battle scene, all his little quips are so good when he's like, hey, have you guys ever seen that really old movie where they like they're talking about Star Wars and they're all like, geez, Tony, how old is this kid? I love all that. He's funny. The movie that had all three Spider-Man in it was that No Way Home.
Yep.
Great. I mean, that was cool to see all of them together. And that's where you kind of see all three of them playing off of each other. But man, as much as I love Tom and I think he's great, I think he's a good if they can keep him and they can do him right, he's going to be great. But man, I think I do have to go to the OG, man. I think I have to say that Tobey is my favorite Spider-Man. I love them all, but Tobey, it's like I said, Spider-Man 2 is the greatest Spider-Man movie ever made, you know? Not to discount, Tom has one scene where I feel like, I mean, I'm a nerd, dude. So people listen to this are going to be like, gosh, Blake, what an idiot. But I love Spider-Man. He's one of my favorite characters. I identified with Spider-Man really close when I was a young middle school student, that I was a nerd. I wasn't well liked. I didn't. So I picked up on this and I really liked Spider-Man. There's a part in Homecoming, which is believe it or not, Homecoming is my second favorite Spider-Man movie. You have to understand me and Michael Keaton's relationship to really get that one, though. But Tom is like, I think Vulture drops a whole warehouse on him, and he's like down in a puddle, and he's like looking at his reflection, and he's crying. I mean, Tom Holland's crying. He's like, yeah, I think he's like a 15 or 16-year-old kid on this movie, right? And he's like, help, someone help. And he's asking for help, and then no one's going to hear him. He starts getting emotional, and then he looks at his reflection, and he's like, come on, Spider-Man, like, come on. And he like pumps himself up by calling himself Spider-Man. And he like pushes all that, like leg presses over the heads, all that, and gets it off. That's like straight from the comics. And I love that scene. And I think that's probably the best Spider-Man scene we've seen in the MCU, where he actually, like, have we even seen him other than the end of No Way Home actually web slinging through a city? Like, not a whole lot, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't really know, but I also like to go to that point. Like, if we have it, most of it really isn't in New York.
Right.
Like,
No.
That was another big thing where I don't like, he's never in New York. He's like, oh, he's in Washington, D.C., or he's in space, or he's over in London. And I'm like,
right.
He's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. That's not in the neighborhood ever.
He's never in the neighborhood, man. He's on a spaceship with the Guardians of the Galaxy right now. And while it's funny, him fighting Thanos was cool. While all that's cool, you're not the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at, man. I actually agree with you. Like, I was trying to build it up where I was like not going to agree with you, but at the end of the day, man, I really do. Tobey's the dude, and I like Tom, and I loved Andrew too, but overall package, I think Tobey's the guy.
Yeah. Tobey just never fails. He solos everybody. He does everything. That's what I love about it. Like, he don't need to rely on Daddy Stark over there to give him a special upgraded suit. Sorry, I'm being really toxic, but I'm just gonna stop there. Tobey's great. Tobey's the guy.
Yeah, Tobey's the man, dude. So that's where we're at. Fans, you guys definitely love Tom, and I don't think we're in bad hands with Tom. I really don't. If Sony wanted to try to make some more money and make another movie for Tobey, like actually do another Tobey movie, I'd watch it. If they wanted to bring Tobey and Andrew together and make a movie, dude, I'm gonna see it. Like, I'm gonna watch it. But I think as far as the future of the MCU goes, if they will get Spider-Man street level and actually have him interact with Daredevil, with Punisher, with maybe some of these guys we're getting ready to talk about in Gang War, I think Spider-Man will be in good hands. If they try to add too much of the Madam Web stuff, we might be in trouble. But I guess we'll see what happens, right? All right. So that's where we're at. Optic Blast Broadcast. Tobey's our dude. We're going with him. You fans, you guys like Tom, but there's nothing wrong. That's okay. Tom is good too. I like Tom. Dylan obviously doesn't, but that's okay. We're gonna be.
I give Tom a hard time, but I think for now, after No Way Home, I have a little bit more respect for him, and I think as long as they stick with the grounded street level, I think he's going to be great in the future.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he Tobey gave him a hug, dude. So he's good. Tobey passed the torch. He's all right. Mm-hmm. All right. So since we are talking about live action Spider-Man and we're getting ready to move into the Gang War series that we read, it's time for a little segment, a mini baby segment that we call Proton Cannon. This is a question that is this canon? All right, so Spider-Man's web. This is the difference between our live action Spider-Man. They do a really funny scene in the movie where they talk about this. Canon-wise, Spider-Man's web, does it actually shoot out of his wrist in the original comics? or were they web shooters that were designed by Peter Parker? So that's the question. And the truth is, canon-wise, the web shooters that were built by Peter Parker with the web capsules, that's the original canon way. The idea of web shooting out of the wrist actually came from the first Spider-Man movie. The director thought, man, nobody's going to believe that this kid is building. Well, I don't understand the logic behind this. No one's going to believe that this kid is building web shooters that can shoot web. Instead, they're going to believe it just shoots out of his wrist, whatever. But the comic books have actually gone back and forth since that movie. Sometimes it shoots out of the different Spider-Man or people's bodies. Sometimes it's a web shooter. Like I said, there's a really funny scene in the movie where they talk about it, and yeah, it's awesome. But yeah, that's the canon. The proton cannon is actually originally Spider-Man built the web shooters, and his spider powers gave him the knowledge how to do that. I guess it was the idea. And one thing we haven't talked about, and we'll get into it a little bit, but people sleep on how smart Peter Parker is. He's and actually, I remember reading, I don't remember which series it was, but Reed Richards said if Peter just focused on being a scientist, he would rival like Reed Richards. And Reed Richards is like one of the smartest dudes in Marvel, right? But Peter's got a lot on his plate. So him being a superhero, a husband or a boyfriend, depending on what you're reading, trying to work, pay the bills, all that, like he's still a genius level intelligence. So it's not out of the scope for him to build stuff like this. So one thing I like about him. All right, dude, I think we need to take a break. We've been talking a lot about the live action Spider-Man. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to come back into the Amazing Spider-Man Gang War. All right, we're back from break, and now it's time to go into Spider-Man. So we read this crossover series. It was recommended to us on the app. We knew we wanted to read Spider-Man. We were wondering where to go. On the Optic Blast broadcast, you're going to see as episodes progress, sometimes we do like a classic run of a series. Sometimes we do something more new and modern. Sometimes we just talk about, like last week was X-Men 90, or last time was X-Men 97. Like we talked about that in like all the comics, but we do like to do runs. So we read a whole storyline run that was recommended to us. It was a 2023 run called The Amazing Spider-Man Gang War. Gang War, kind of a quick synopsis of what it is. There's an anti-vigilante act has been passed back when Norman Fisk was the mayor. So I guess at some point, remember, I haven't read in like probably maybe more than 5 years. At some point, Kingpin was the mayor, and he passed this anti-vigilante act. So no superheroes allowed in New York City. New York City has like 1 million superheroes. So I don't know why. I don't know. I guess he thought it was a good idea. Well, anyway, the gangs rise up, and the gangs start having a war over territories. It's very kind of reminds me a lot of the Spider-Man video game on like PlayStation, like where there's different gangs and there's different like bad guys in areas. But the gangs rise up. They have this huge war. Spider-Man, of course, is caught up in it. He's going to be a hero. And even though there's an anti-vigilante act, he's going to try to stop the gang war from happening. You're going to see special appearances from like Luke Cage is in there, She-Hulk, Daredevil. There's a lot of different characters that pop up as we're saying. It is gang war. So it is New York City. You get New York City heroes will be showing up. So it's a series that's basically what it's about. Spider-Man teaming up with other heroes trying to stop a giant gang war. You have some really unique gangs that are battling it out. I thought it was cool to see Mr. Negative pop up in there because I only knew him from the video game. So that was cool to see him pop in with his gang, even though they get rocked every time they're in there. Overall, got into it, read the whole thing. I'm gonna go break it down like this. You have the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good for me, we'll talk about the good first. I really like the Anti-Vigilante Act. I'm a huge fan of Civil War. That's one of my favorite comic book story arcs ever. I 100% guarantee one day we are going to do an Optic Blast broadcast on Civil War just because it's so good. That got me back into comics when I was in college. That they passed a Superhero Registration Act. So anytime the government gets involved and is like trying to stop superheroes, I kind of like those plot lines. I like the Spider-Man team-ups. Spider-Man always has cool team-ups in the comics. New York City's full of heroes. So one comic you might have Ghost Rider show up. Another one you might have Punisher. So the team-ups are great. in this, he has his own team of team ups. You see some heroes pop in that like Cloak and Dagger show up. And I thought that was super cool because I remember them from like the Maximum Carnage video game. I'm like, oh, Cloak and Dagger still hanging out. I like all the different villains battling for the territories. That's kind of cool. They give you a map every comic when you open it, and it has a map of where the areas are.
Yeah, I thought that was super cool, like especially because it changed like each with each issue, like it would update like who had what territory, and I thought that was actually really cool.
Yeah, it's fun. And then you see like where is the spider? Like where are they at right now? And so that was a cool way to do it. The probably She-Hulk. I love having She-Hulk in there. I'm a She-Hulk fan. I'll be honest, I don't read She-Hulk comics, but I actually liked the She-Hulk MCU, like the TV show. I know like a lot of fans they like hate anything Marvel's doing right now, but I don't. I liked MCU. I like the She-Hulk thing. I thought that was cool. I think She-Hulk's a fun character. So I like She-Hulk being in there. I was really surprised with Daredevil. I had no idea what's going on with Daredevil. So I had to read like, okay, why is Daredevil a girl? You know, like that's what I didn't understand. I figured it was Elektra. It is Elektra. But where the heck is Matt Murdock? So like you find out he's locked up, and so she's going to carry the mantle for him. And I have always disliked Elektra. Like I don't like Elektra, even though I love the Charlie Cox Daredevil series. My least favorite parts of the series are Elektra. I cannot stand her, but you know what? She grew on me in this. I was cool with her being Daredevil. So that's some of the good things. I definitely think my favorite issue was right in the beginning. You have Miles. Miles is a highlight of this, by the way. Miles, like Peter Parker is almost on the back bench. This is an amazing Spider-Man run, and Spider-Man's barely in it, but we'll get into that. But Miles, though, him and Blade are together in one episode, or in one issue, Dylan, and they're fighting a vampire gang. I didn't know there was a vampire gang, but I guess there's a vampire gang. And it's awesome because Blade, and I think it's like his daughter or something, are working with Spider-Man Miles to fight him. And they give him he has like a suit just to fight vampires, like the Miles vampire slaying suit. That's awesome. So that issue was like one of my favorites. I was like, all right, cool. Let's go, Miles. But yeah, Miles definitely carries it for me. What are like some of the good things that you saw as you read through this, Dylan?
Yeah, for me, I feel like there was quite a few good things that I really liked. Like I said, obviously like the map of the territories, I thought that was really cool. I loved Miles. I'm a huge Miles fan. There's sometimes where I kind of like Miles almost more than I like Peter. Sometimes I like, man, dude, Miles is that guy. Yeah. So even like in the video games, which we can talk about that a little later, because I believe we both played those. I played Spider-Man 2. You said you haven't
played that one yet. Nope.
But I love the video games, especially the Miles game. But yeah, Miles was definitely a highlight. I loved seeing him. He's always funny. Even whenever he was talking, I was just thinking of like the voice that's in the video games every time, and it was just like so. And then She-Hulk was really cool. Daredevil was definitely one of my favorite parts of the whole run. I really enjoyed like reading those issues that were in the run. I thought it was really cool seeing Elektra do her thing or whatever. I know you said you're not a big fan of her. I'm partial to her. She's cool. I really liked, I love Charlie Cox's Daredevil, and I liked seeing her in there. I mean, she wasn't like my favorite character, because but I thought she was a good kid. Like I didn't like her, but I like in a good way, because I felt like she was there not for me to necessarily like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's her point. You're kind of supposed to hate her, right?
Yeah. So I thought that was really good. Like I said, I liked seeing her. I don't want to spoil too much, but her chase. What is it? Bellana? Is that how you say her name? I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. So like seeing those, that was really cool. And then obviously all the different characters that I thought one thing that was cool was a lot of the leaders of these gangs were like the offspring of the bigger like Spidey villains that you would normally know. So like it was, you had Fisk's kid in there. You had Madame Mask, which is who was her dad? I can't think of his name right now. But yeah, like, and then you had Beetle, which was Tombstone's daughter, and like different things. Like, I thought that was kind of cool. It was a little different. So I thought that was, pretty cool seeing that it almost like they're not really passing the mantle, because obviously that's not really what Tombstone wanted, but also exploring some of the struggles of growing up as your dad being a big crime dude, basically,
Right.
and what that kind of entails. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm trying to think of what else, but I don't know. I just think overall it was pretty solid. It was different. It was a different take for me. Obviously, this is like the first like big Spidey comic that I've really gotten into, like this comic run that I've really gotten into. Like, there's other things that I've known about, different like different storylines and things like that I knew about and that I've kind of explored a little bit. But this was like the first one that I really, really got into, and so I feel like it was pretty solid. I've heard other people say that there's a lot better things going on. Like, there's better, like, I want to say, was it Beast Wars or something that happened a while back or something? You may not know.
No, I don't know. I heard Spider Island was sick, but I never read that one.
Yeah.
So I got a lot of catching up to do, bro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same. So I'm interested because I enjoyed it. So I'm interested in hopping into some of these other ones that a lot of people have been saying are even better. Yeah. So it's definitely got me excited for the future of Spidey and just comics in general.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Agree, definitely. Some of like the bad that I didn't care for in it was I didn't feel like Spider-Man was like Spider-Man. I mean, like I said, he's not in it enough for me for it to be like, if you just read the Amazing Spider-Man comics, of course he's in those, but all the filler, there's like so much filler. Like, dude, Shang-Chi was absolutely pointless in this series. Like, I read his comics and I was like, why did I waste my time reading that? He brings nothing to the table at all. Why do I have 4 or 5 Shang-Chi? And so it's just like those comic runs they do where it's like, all right, this year we're going to put a Gang War Spider-Man stamp on every Marvel comic we have. And it might talk 2 seconds about the gang war, but now you've wasted your time reading this whole Shang-Chi comic, right? So I didn't care for that. But that's with anything. That's not like, even though as much as I love Civil War, I mean, the main 7 issues are great. All the filler is, some of it's good, but it's not. So there's some of that going on with this, but I kind of got the feeling that Spider-Man, he is obviously going through some stuff. I need to catch up. I read some things about what's happened to our boy Peter Parker, and I'm not a fan. I know him and MJ are no longer together. MJ, I guess, got trapped in another world with a dude, and they had kids, and then they lost their kids, and they came back to this world, and her and Peter are not. I don't know. These writers have been going wild on our boy Peter Parker, from what it sounds like. Of course, they always have. Marvel always gives him the business, dude. He's always going through hard times. But I know him and MJ are not together. MJ shows up in the series. On this, I was not a fan of that, but I don't like MJ. Never liked MJ, even in the old like Toby movies. I don't like MJ, dude. I think she's kind of lame. Like, she just kind of, I don't know, that the dude's freaking Spider-Man. Give him a break, you know? But no, I know some of the time she doesn't know that, but in the comics, she knows he's freaking Spider-Man, and she still gives him the blues. But I feel like that was kind of like, so that the bad to me was that Spider-Man wasn't very funny. There was one scene where I did laugh out loud at something that happens in there, and like that, I even sent it to you, Dylan. Like, I sent you a screenshot, and I was like, dude, all right, there he is. There's Spider-Man. But like, I think he's just going through some stuff right now, and maybe he's just not quite the comic funny Spider-Man. And okay, Miles actually honestly brings more to the table in that aspect in this than he did. The stuff he says always cracks me up. I kind of felt like this series was like when you're a kid and you throw all your action figures on the floor and you're trying to make a story where they all can battle. And then like halfway through it, you kind of get bored and you're like, I'm just going to go play like Super Nintendo or something, like, and you're like trying to wrap it up. I kind of felt a little bit of that vibe going on just because there's so many moving pieces, but it was a neat story. Like I said, the ugly to me would be MJ. I just don't like MJ. Never have, never will. She's definitely not a superhero. How she got jackpot powers and she comes in clutch to save, spoiler, but if there's going to be a little bit of spoilers trying to review something. She comes in clutch on one scene to like help. And you're like, MJ, really? Whatever. But I'm just not a fan of her. If you are an MJ fan out there, sorry, whatever. But Spider-Woman storyline, I'm not a big Spider-Woman fan either. I know she's always battling Hydra, and I know it's always like super secret agent stuff with her, but I just never have cared for that. Her toddler son, I was kind of compelled, like, okay, her son is missing. Okay, I'm with you. Like, I have a little kid. Like, all right, Spider-Woman, I'm with you. Let's figure this out. And then the big reveal, I'm like, get out of here. So I didn't care for that. But overall, myself, this is just me. I'd say this is like a pretty like 3 out of 5 series for me. Like it's mid, but it was enough that I got through it, and it was enough that I like seeing the superhero team ups. And it's kind of got me like, all right, I need to catch up. I need to figure out what's going on with Spider-Man now. Like, I need a lot to read, because like I'm like you, I was looking online and I was looking at all the different storylines, and like all the people recommending were like, Gang Wars is okay, but instead read all these other things. And I was like, crap, I got a lot of catching up to do, right?
Yep. I think for me, I would probably give it, just with this being like the first real big one, I'll probably give it like a 4 out of 5. I do agree, like some like the Spider-Woman, even like the Luke Cage stuff and the Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
Like I just kind of skimmed through those, to be honest. Like I was mostly just looking at, like I read most of it, but like I was just kind of going through super quick, because I was like, this doesn't seem like super essential to the story, so I wasn't like too locked in on it. But Miles, and even like the Daredevil stuff, because I love Daredevil, I feel like those especially were like the things that really made, outside of just the Amazing Spider-Man issues, like I really enjoyed being able to just read those, and I really look forward to getting into some more Miles comics, because I love Miles. So I think honestly Miles alone probably is a reason why I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 instead of 3 out of 5. So yeah,
dude, what about his so I didn't know, like, again, if you're listening to this and you're like, man, you guys are supposed to be doing a comic book podcast and you don't even know about this stuff, like, hey man, we're catching back up, and I feel like a lot of people who are listening to this are probably just like we are, like kind of getting back into comics again. I had no idea that Miles could make that saber. Like it's like that big shock saber or stings. I don't forgot what he calls it, but like he uses that thing all the time.
Yeah, it's the Venom Saber, because
Venom Saber,
his Venom power. Yeah,
yeah. And I remember playing the video game, being like, I didn't know Miles had this cool Venom power thing, right? And he uses that thing all the time. That's sick. I really like that aspect of Miles, and again, I like his jokes. I had a question. I thought you might know it, because I have not played. I played the Miles game on PlayStation 4, and I remember there was this chick he fought. It was like his best friend, but like she's like. I forgot what she does. She like gets into like computers and works on stuff, and he fights her throughout that storyline. He's like trying to help her. Is that the chick? Like, who is the chick in the comics that like he is obviously shook?
I was thinking, I was like kind of confused too. I couldn't remember who it was. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I played the Miles game.
Yeah, like, so there's this chick in the Gang War series, and I honestly, dude, I feel bad. I can't remember her name, but her power is she can talk to electronics, and she's like got all these robots. And whenever Miles sees her, there's a scene where he like collapses, and whoever he's rolling with like grabs him. I think he's with Misty. I can't remember who he's with, but they grab him and they're like, dude, are you all right? And he's just like kind of taken aback when he sees her. And I don't know if she's like an arch nemesis of his, or maybe that's his old friend. I don't know, but there was definitely a cool vibe there of like Miles and this character have a deep history. And that made me want to go read Miles comics to see like, all right, who is this chick? And why is Miles shook by this? Like, that's one thing Gang War definitely did for me. It got me wanting to read other comics. I want to know what's going on with Miles. I want to know what's going on with Daredevil. What's Matt doing in prison? Like, well, I want him to get out. I want to know. I want to see what. I think it's kind of cool. Elektra's taking up the mantle and she's taking care of Hell's Kitchen. Like, it got me invested. Like, now I want to read Amazing Spider-Man. I want to see what's going on. I agree with you. The Luke Cage stuff, I kind of skimmed through. The part where he pulls out a giant mech armor, kind of like this Batman thing. Like, that was cool, but other than that, I was like, okay, because like you said, you could tell they were fillers and they weren't going to contribute to the story. So that's why you're like, like Shang-Chi. I don't even know I think he showed up at the very end and was like, I fought a tank. You're like, okay, bro, thanks. Didn't even make it in a panel to show that, but
yeah, him and Danny were like super salty. So they're like, we were over here doing this, and you all weren't helping.
Yeah, they were like, how come we, the martial art guys, had to go fight the tanks? And She-Hulk's like, I'm tired of fighting tanks. But all right, yeah, really cool. So, like I said, we both gave our opinions on it. I would say if you have that Marvel Unlimited app, yeah, go for it. It might inspire you to want to get into comics again. It may inspire you to kind of check out some of the newer things that are going on with all the different people that are engaged. I love a good Spider-Man team up. This has a bunch of Spider-Man team ups in it. If I hurt your feelings about Mary Jane, sorry, but that's just going to be my stand on that. Gwen Stacy for life, bro. So
I second that.
Spider-Gwen, let's go. All right. I was kind of bummed. I was hoping reading this that I would see maybe Spider-Gwen show up. I don't know I know she's in a different universe and all this stuff, but I thought maybe, Spider-Man, I kind of was hoping maybe I would see Punisher, maybe Ghost Rider, but I did. Cloak and Dagger was a good, okay, cool. That was a cool shout out to the old school. But all right, so that's where we're at with Spider-Man Gang War. Thank you so much for listening and being with us today as we went through everything. Next week, we're going to hype it up. I say next week, but next episode, we come out. So someone asked a question on, I think it was Discord. And they said, shout out to all you Discord people. Make sure you're being active in the Discord. We love that. All you people on social media. But they asked the question of what is the release schedule for Optic Blast Broadcast? So we are a bi-weekly show. So every other Tuesday, we look to have content coming out for you. So that answers that question. Thanks to everybody who voted for the Spider-Man. But next episode is going to be all about Batman. We are going to Gotham City. We are going to check out Batman. We have some interesting Batman story arcs to look over, a Batman series to watch or to read. And we're going to post all that on our social media. So if you want to read along, you got to follow us on social media, get in that Discord, and we're going to post all that in there so you can see, okay, what am I reading along with, so I know what they're going to talk about on the next episode.
Did want to say, and also in our Discord real quick, before we go, I'm assuming, is his name Blake, the dude that asked the other question as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so shout out to Blake for also asking a question in our Discord. He just kind of asked us what our lesser known comic book characters were. So I mean, Blake, you want to kick it off and just kind of answer? Just go over super quick, just kind of.
Yeah, sure, dude. So I love that question, Blake. Thank you for jumping in the Discord and asking it. I definitely have to go with lesser known character, probably. As much as I love Batman, and we're going into Batman next week, Nightwing is my dude. I actually like Nightwing more than I like Batman, and I love Batman, but Nightwing, he's my guy, man. He's the guy. So that's definitely my side character. Nightwing, Teen Titans, Young Justice. I will take all of that stuff all day over Justice League.
Yep. I definitely agree with you on Nightwing. I remember, as a kid, I didn't really know much about Nightwing. I didn't even really know who he was until I was watching an episode of Teen Titans. And he comes in, he's just standing on this building. It's just the shadowy silhouette, and then he jumps down. He's just looks like an absolute, just awesome character. So that, from just seeing him, I was oh, I'm a fan of this guy. And so since then, I've been a huge Nightwing fan. So for me, when it comes to lesser known characters, I feel my lesser known characters come from the CW versions of the DC shows. And so I think whenever I talked about it in Discord, I talked about Arsenal. So Arsenal is one of the Green Arrow guys that he just kind of has the Mirakuru superpowers and kind of comes alongside Oliver and just kind of helps him out. And he's one of my favorite characters, especially the person playing him in the show, because I'm also, this isn't really comic book related, but I'm a huge Teen Wolf guy. If you haven't seen Teen Wolf, it's a great show. And he's also in that show. And so I knew who he was. And then going into the CW, playing as Arsenal, I thought it was really cool seeing him. And I was a fan ever since. So he's probably one of my favorite lesser known characters. So
that's awesome, dude. The only Teen Wolf I know is Michael J. Fox, and he can dunk a basketball. That's all I remember.
Those are great too. The movies are great. The TV show is a little different, but
yeah, that's awesome. All right. Well, hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Optic Blast broadcast. Be sure to jump in for the next episode as we move to Gotham City. The Dark Knight himself. We explore the world of the Batman. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great day.